Mr. War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Pat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Perry. Getting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Welcome everyone to another edition of the War Report. It's a somber one.
Yeah.
We lost one of the bad guys.
I'm trying not to cry.
What else?
He
is
really
there to
was so
say?
fucking good.
Yo. I think the only way you can really open up this show is just say, "Hey, yo."
Oye, me chico.
We're here for another edition of the War Report, and
Hey Vince,
yeah,
hard work pays off.
yeah.
Dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. One of the greatest lines ever said in relation to professional wrestling. And we lost one of the good guys, which
Yeah.
sucks.
The best bad guy in the world, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, whatever you recognize him as throughout his long wrestling career. Complications of a broken hip surgery led to 3 heart attacks. He was put on life support yesterday afternoon, taken off life support, and a few hours later passed away. Right around the time that Monday Night Raw came on the air Monday night, and they were able to. They were really the first to break the news that he had passed, right at the top of the hour, and then they did put out a video in the middle of the show. Apparently, from what I've heard, there's another tribute video being worked on that will include more current interviews once they're able to do that. But this was kind of this was taken from interviews about Scott previously. If you're not aware, or if you're a younger person who hasn't seen or understood the impact that a guy like Scott Hall has, I mean, now is as good as time any to go back and see his contributions to professional wrestling, and not just in the ring, because in the ring, the amazing thing was he was a great worker.
Great worker.
And he was not selfish. He was friends with a lot of guys like Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, etc., who were very selfish in the ring to try and get themselves to look as good as possible. And Scott Hall was the kind of guy who, in the early 90s, would put over a young Jeff Hardy, make him look good. In the early 2000s, he put over a young guy known as Hiroshi Tanahashi. And it was one of the first people from the United States to kind of acknowledge how good Tanahashi is. He put over Tanahashi in a New Japan match and told management there he's going to be a big deal, and he was. He was, in that sense, very giving. And, of course, changed the way wrestling contracts worked. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, their manager, Barry Bloom, got guaranteed. It wasn't just getting paid for spots. Like, these guys were getting guaranteed money now. They had what was called a favored nations clause, where they could, if somebody new came in like a Bret Hart and was making more money, Scott and Kevin would be able to renegotiate their contracts to make more. He was a savvy businessman that really did not. Now all the contracts that are with it, AEW contracts, WWE contracts, whatever, those are all based on what Scott and Kevin did, leaving the WWF and going to WCW back in 1996. Of course, we know in the late 90s through the mid 2000s, Scott Hall suffered from substance abuse problems, alcohol problems, etc. Um, all stemming from, not to make an excuse, but to help you understand, uh, Scott Hall had PTSD from a justifiable homicide where he had to defend himself and unfortunately ended the life of another person. Which, doing that at such a young age, it affected him. I don't think he ever really sought the help he needed for it until later, much later in life, which again kind of contributed to the alcohol problems, the substance abuse problems, and then to find out around the same time that Jake the Snake Roberts was going through his issues, so was Scott Hall. There was a guy called DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, who took those guys in. There's the documentary, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, doesn't just include Jake the Snake. Scott Hall's in there as well because this was all going around at the same time. Was able
What
to take those two guys,
DDTP did was amazing.
unbelievable. Just, literally turned around their lives, saved them from, passing away even earlier, than they should have. Doing the same thing with Buff Bagwell right now as DDP. So,
he reached out to Big E also.
Yeah, a Big E who broke his neck. Luckily, doesn't need surgery. Doesn't have any spinal damage, spinal column damage. It just seems to be a fracture of the C1 and C6 vertebrae. He's got a big neck. He's got, This is why you do neck bridges. This is why you work out your neck in pro wrestling. In case something like this happens, you can't avoid it, but you can try and mitigate it. And his conditioning really helped. But just to kind of put a pin on the Scott Hall thing, I mean, he absolutely turned his life around, a complete 180, to clean back up and come out to be able to appreciate the love from the fans in his later life, and get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. It's weird, there's a lot of parallels, even though it didn't happen as quickly as the Warrior. The speech that the Warrior gave that Monday night on Raw in 2014, and then he passed away on Tuesday.
That was crazy.
That was, but that speech that he gave was kind of that was his curtain call.
Yep.
And if that was, if the last thing you remember about Scott Hall is, bad times don't last, but bad guys do, then, I mean, that's a hell of a way to go out. So, Scott Hall was a big part of all of our childhoods.
It's just amazing if you think about, what he did for the business in so many ways. I had the pleasure of watching the first ever ladder match for the IC title against Shawn Michaels in Madison Square Garden, which is now really a part of history.
Yeah.
And I got to be there live with amazing seats, by the way. And
probably better than mine.
I got to see that. And then what a massive role he had with the start of NWO, which became a game changer in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
There were just so many things, the gimmick, everything about it just worked. The fact that it was all based on Scarface and Vince McMahon had no fucking clue is still mind-blowing to me. But it's just, everything worked. And, he was just so good, man. So good. And he had his demons, but he worked through them. It sucks, man. This one hurts. This one hurts.
Especially at 63 after he turned everything around.
Yeah. And, you were talking about before about how he, let other people shine and everything. Don't forget what he did for Sean Waltman.
Yes.
On that Monday Night Raw, the 1, 2, 3. I mean, he wasn't even, he was the Lightning Kid or whatever fucking kid he was.
No, he was the one that night where he won that bag of cash. That was the first time he came out as the 1, 2, 3 kid.
He won a match
he became the 1, 2, 3
couple of weeks earlier and became the 1, 2, 3 kid, and that led to the $10,000 match with Monday Night Raw. But this was a no name that nobody knew who he was.
Yeah,
and just like you said, he did not mind letting jobbers, anybody, whoever there were, just to let them work too. It wasn't just about him in the ring, which you don't see that all the time anymore.
Absolutely.
And Hulk Hogan recently just said that he owes his second resurrection all to Scott Hall, like the whole heel, heel Hogan, like Hollywood Hogan, NWO revitalized Hogan's career, and Scott Hall had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I mean Hogan, it was really getting to a point in Hogan's career where the fans just had enough of the vitamins and the saying of the prayers, and and then
Right.
Bischoff is the one that approached Hogan and was kind of like, "What do you feel about going heel?" And then the rest is history. I mean, that night when he comes down and he gives Savage the leg drop,
Bash
I
at the
mean,
beach.
one of the greatest
That's
moments
crazy.
ever in professional wrestling, because you had Bobby Heenan screaming into the microphone, "I told you dummies for years
Hulkamania's dead.
that you can't trust that son of a bitch," kind of thing. And like it was finally vindication for
finally
Bobby
true.
Heenan. And then the ring filled with garbage. People
Yeah.
were just
Oh,
throwing trash
Yeah.
at him and fucking
And-
soda and like, oh dude,
and
it was so fucking great.
Yeah,
And
and
he
just
was
go
so good.
a couple of months back to when Scott Hall appeared on Nitro. Like
You don't know
out of
why I'm
nowhere,
here.
like this was really kind of before the internet was really huge, and
Yeah.
we were 15, 16 at that point, right? Or
Flicking
maybe
channels
younger.
back and forth between the two shows. Like, what the fuck just happened? Wait a minute. Wait, what?
Well,
And we
it
all-
was, WCW just did it all the right way. I mean, this is, like to what Vince was saying earlier in contracts. I mean, this right here, because they were on WWE TV not too long before this, and then all of a sudden, Scott Hall's walking through the crowd, taking popcorn from a fucking fan and eating it, and then just
That-
gets into the ring as
that
Scott
speech.
Hall, and that speech where he said what he said, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Yep.
And then, followed the next week by Kevin Nash, and then Bischoff getting power bombed through the stage, but then being the leader. And it was just the whole thing worked. It was just, and then it made WWE better because now they had WCW taken over, and it was just a great time. Possibly similar to what we got going on right now with AEW.
Maybe, man, a little bit. It definitely does feel like it, but also, Scott Hall was the guy who, and I'm sure people have heard the story before. Nice toothpick throw there. But you probably have also heard the story aside from the Scarface character, Razor Ramon. Sting was trying to find a way to change up his character, and Scott Hall said, "Hey, did you ever see a movie called The Crow?"
Mm-hmm.
No. And so that was the impetus for Sting to change up his look was Scott Hall's suggestion for the movie The Crow, which is cool that he was able to like take these kind of pop culture things and find a way to make them relevant to to pro wrestling.
Such a badass movie.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add Scott Hall, Razor
yeah.
Ramon, one of the greatest intercontinental champions of all time.
Yeah. Arguments could be made that he should have been world champion or could have been world champion anywhere. But obviously, at the time you had Diesel and Shawn, or in the other company you had Goldberg, Nash, and Hogan and Sting. Like it was very stacked at the top. If you had a guy like Scott Hall nowadays, oh my God. I mean, you'd kill for a guy like that.
Oh, wait. Yeah, survey says this one definitely sucks, bro.
Yeah, man. Especially, 63 years old is not that old. I know it's like Eddie Guerrero. They both solved their issues and stopped their substance problems. But
how crazy is this? Because Eddie, remember we were talking a couple of weeks ago when the TMZ story came out, and we freaked out like, oh wait, what happened? Oh wait, oh thank God, he just broke his hip. Okay, he's gonna be fine.
In the back of my mind, I always like broken hips.
Like did not even take into consideration that this would have happened.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole thing. Yeah, I didn't know the surgery and everything. I even made light of it and felt like shit. But I couldn't have seen this coming, and it fucking it sucks, man. It totally does.
Yeah, and
a fucking blood clot, like a fucking
it's like the
blood
Chris
clot.
Candido thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. When he went and flew with his broken leg.
Some of us had the pleasure of meeting him years ago. Steve and I, and Vince, you were there too. New England.
Oh yeah, I was there. That was cool.
There's a picture. Steve put it up of Steve and Big Heck with Scott Hall. Now, originally it was just Big Heck, Steve was on the other side. I had never seen Steve run so fast to get into a picture.
That's great.
Oh my god, it was unbelievable. And I kind of slid right into place, like right
Yeah,
before the camera went off.
And it was so cool
Perfect.
because also like he was like taking pictures with fans like on a ladder trying to
Yeah.
get the IC title. It was really cool.
Yeah, that was a cool
And
photo
he was
op
so
there.
good with the fans too. It was great.
And I know there's agreed Autumn. There's there's not gonna be another Scott Hall. The way that they put it was you can't teach cool. He was the coolest guy in the room without even trying. Whatever,
Absolutely.
he was just, he oozed machismo. That's what
Yep.
it was. You can't teach that. There's a swagger that the guy had that you just can't teach. And I only, I briefly met him at the Fan Fest there. I worked with him at one show, maybe a handful of shows, probably a small handful of shows, if anything. But his son, I got to see Cody Hall, not Cody, well, Cody Rhodes too, but Cody Hall uh, came out with his father for a show early on in his wrestling career. This was, before he had maybe been training for a year, if that, and it was just cool to see Scott was trying to help Cody learn. Scott was, I mean, the fans had usually if somebody's got a bad attitude, you hear about it after the show. No complaints, no nothing. Everybody loved Scott Hall, and just to see him trying to get. I know what ended up happening to Cody Hall. He's not wrestling right now, and I think he's got his own problems that he's dealing with. But to see that Scott was like, hey, my son wants to do this and I want to support him in this in any way I can. The best way I can do it is to come out and be his manager and kind of help get him over and get him started. So, the kid comes out in the vest with the blood drips on it and the wolf pack, trunks and the black
Yeah.
boots and Scott comes out with him. And it's very cool because it was just nice to see him support his son like that. So I think we could go on all day talking about awesome Scott Hall stuff, and I wouldn't mind doing it, but I have a feeling that people would probably want us to talk about all the things that are coming up with AEW.
yeah,
and
gone are
Even
the
WWE.
you know what
days.
though, but even like I just want to it's the little things, right? We always say it comes down to like the little things that they do, and sometimes it's like the biggest thing, even though it's so little. And he was one of them. Like even as Razor, he'd come into the ring, and he'd call over the ring announcer, and he'd give him all his jewelry, and he'd look into the camera and he'd say, if anything happens to this gold, man, something gonna happen to you. And then he throws the toothpick in his face. It was just like everything about him was just so fucking badass. And it's just those are things you'll always remember. And rest in peace, man. It sucks. But
Yeah,
63.
yeah, 60 fucking 3, man. It's a shame.
So I've had a lot going on lately, and I am so fucking behind on wrestling.
Oh,
There's not much to report, so that's not such a bad thing.
Like we brought up Big E and
Yeah, I froze.
oh yeah, the Big E thing was that was a big shock to hear about and to
this
see.
could be career ending.
Potentially career end. So far, what I'm thankful to hear is that there is no spinal cord damage.
Correct.
They didn't have to go in for any surgery, which everything, as I said earlier, means that he had the neck muscle. And I had, unfortunately, another guy, R.I.P. Big Jim, but my friend Big Jim he needed surgery on his vertebrae, but he was in a car accident where he fractured his same thing, kind of like I think he fractured like C1 down to C4 or something. But
Oof.
yeah, so he woke up and I don't know if you never met Big Jim. He was another big guy with a big neck. He woke up in the morning with a stiff neck and he couldn't turn, so he was getting up and just turning with his shoulders. He went to the hospital. They took an X-ray. They said, "We're getting you into surgery right now." The only thing that was holding him together was like the fact that he worked out all the time and had a huge neck. If he didn't
Yeah,
have
because
those
1
big
to
neck
4
muscles,
is bad.
yeah, he shouldn't have. Honestly, he came back and started wrestling in his like late 30s, early 40s, and the doctor's like, "Don't do it." And he really probably shouldn't have done it, but like he was another one, just an athletic, a muscly guy that he had a lot of meat that could keep it together.
Right.
And Big E, thank God, he's a big, thick guy with a big neck muscle who was able to absorb that. Like I watched the doctor break it down on on YouTube, like a
I was going to say,
neurosurgeon
did
guy.
you watch that? Yeah, he
Oh.
actually, the way he landed actually kind of saved his neck.
Yeah, and also because the C1, the Atlas is and I've had neck problems before, not like that, but I know a little bit about it. That's bad. That's like
Yeah.
the hangman's break. You
Yep.
know what I mean? That is potentially life threatening and potentially career threatening. And so, right now, the hope is just that I don't care about big, if he never wrestles again, it is a tragedy, but at least he's alive.
Exactly.
Let's I want to see Big E heal and rehab and all that, and then we can talk about it down the line if he's going to wrestle again. But let's just, as long as he can get around and hold his children and be there for his kids, let's focus on that.
And
first.
he's in tremendous spirits too.
I've never seen that. The guy posts a video, like a selfie video on Twitter. He's like, "Hey, I'm feeling all right. I can move all my limbs. Doctors told me I have a broken neck." And I'm like, dude, I would not be maybe he was smiling because he was so relieved to not be dead or paralyzed.
Oh no, that was the drugs.
Okay, so it's the painkiller. He was like, "Hey, everybody."
That's the painkillers
He's
talking.
He's like, if you're gonna break your neck, do it in Birmingham.
Well, yeah, that was it's a joke, but it's also serious because those guys down there, I mean, that's where all of the WWE surgeries happen, with Dr. James Andrews doing the the sports medicine style surgeries like ACLs and stuff. And I know Birmingham's got a good neuro surgery division down there as well.
How being in good shape makes a big difference. Look at Tyson Kidd, who, if he wasn't in such good shape, he could have been easily paralyzed or possibly died too.
Yep, and it's
Steve Austin.
Yeah, yep. There's a lot of guys. I've
Kurt
seen,
Angle,
yeah.
he won a
Angle,
gold medal with a broken freaking neck.
And then continued to wrestle with, a bad neck for 20 years or whatever it was.
Well, I would say Steve Austin, happened
Steve
to
Austin
him in the
came
match
back.
with Owen Hart,
Austin came back and changed his style. Kurt Angle was doing 450s off the TNA stage all perked out.
No, we never said Kurt Angle was necessarily intelligent.
Kurt Angle in TNA was a whole different kind of animal.
Did you say Lita, Eric?
Yeah, with Lita.
Oh yeah, Lita broke her neck. But that was
that match against Trish.
Am I misremembering that she hurt her neck on
a movie set or something?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer or something.
Wow.
Yeah, Matt Hardy is real happy that happened, isn't he?
But I just, that it's just, they're freak accidents.
Yeah, she did a hurricane run on the set. You're right.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, poor Ridge Holland. Listen, not that I'm saying the guy's a wrestling genius or anything. He did, was he injured Finn or somebody? But anyway, you also got to feel bad for that guy too, because
accidents happen.
Right, but I mean, D'Lo Brown still talks about it to this day, about what happened with that thing with him and Droz and that Tiger Driver. Yeah. And I just, Ridge Holland, and I know he went and visited Big E.
Talk about never getting a memory out of your head. That will never exit my head as long as I live, being at that SmackDown taping. Ugh.
You were there on the Droz show? Oh, my God.
Yep, that was a Nassau Coliseum SmackDown.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
I literally ran to the bathroom and threw up. That's how
and that's
nasty.
Maybe 5 months, if that, after Owen died.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was all kind of just bad news after bad
news. When he slipped through his shirt and went down, Droz's foot was literally touching the back of his head.
Whoa.
Wow.
And he's lying in the center of the ring like that. And D'Lo is sobbing hysterically in the middle of the ring, did not even know what to do.
Wow.
Damn.
Everyone, the Owen Hart footage, and we've all never actually seen the whole thing, but how everybody swarmed the ring, what the hell? I've never, they all jumped in the ring faster than when Bret Hart got attacked at the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
The entire locker room, everybody was in the freaking ring like in 30 seconds.
Oh shit.
Because they
Wow.
have no idea what the hell just happened, and it was just a slip. To see it, I couldn't even tell you what went wrong looking at it. It
Right.
happened that fast.
Yeah, something they said it was something was slick or something didn't.
He slipped
Yeah.
on his boot. It was his boot. He said it 100 times. His boot went out from under him and he dropped him. That's all
Right.
it was. But it wasn't even like, we can go back and rewind footage now and see what happened with Ridge and Biggie over and over and over again. We couldn't do that in 1999. So everyone's like, what the fuck just happened? What's going on? What's going on? I was like, and I literally, because I was at ringside, I literally like, and I split.
Look, there's the stuff with Perro Aguayo Jr. a few years back.
Oh,
That and just among many things, it's
yeah, it was horrible. Oh,
and
geez,
Hayabusa's career, that
Yep,
kind of thing.
Hayabusa. I mean, neck injuries are no joke, and that's really, oh, wrestling's fake. Oh, it's a TV show. They learn how to fall.
How do you learn to fall off a 20-foot ladder?
Everything's padded. Oh, they're landing on padding, and I don't give a shit if you land on padding. You land on your head, it still messes you up. So, like, these guys really do go out there
what's under
and
that padding?
put their bodies
Concrete.
on the line.
Yeah.
People don't realize, like,
And
they
the
play
rink ain't
hockey
no
in a lot of these
trampoline.
buildings. It's this and then concrete for a hockey rink.
But that had to play a lot of a factor too, though, because figure space-wise, if you're doing a belly-to-belly suplex in the ring, you have plenty of room to throw your opponent, get your turnover and everything. They were doing this at ringside.
It's a little narrower.
Yeah. That has a lot to do with it also, too. It just, he grabbed him low and he went over.
Is it weird to think that part of me is kind of happy it happened on the solid ground instead of the ring? Because
Absolutely.
I feel like if there was more give, worse stuff would have happened.
It would have looked just as bad as Madcap Moss. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I'm you don't want to hit the hard ground, but I think in that case, the cushioning would have he could have contorted his body in a different way and had a worse landing. But,
Eric.
Oh, yeah, man. So it's just good to hear that he's in good spirits. He's not paralyzed. Looks like he's going to be able to. The prognosis is that he's going to be able to eventually return to the ring. I'm, cautiously optimistic for our buddy Big E there. And of course, the whole wrestling world reached out online. It's great to see when Scott Hall passed away, when Big E got severely injured, it wasn't just WWE guys that responded. It's the whole internet, AEW talent. AEW itself put out a post acknowledging Scott Hall. I'm Facebook friends. This sounds like a humble brag, but it's not. I happen to be Facebook friends with a lot of guys who worked in WCW and ECW. And it's very cool to see Justin Credible, the Maestro, Lanny Poffo. Like, I'm seeing guys from way back in the day all sharing their stories about Scott Hall. And it was great to see, that the whole wrestling world comes together in a tragedy. And even with Big E, like Eric was saying, DDP offered to help him with his rehab for his neck. So another, the wrestling world convalescing around somebody who needs the help and seeing what they can provide for him. So from tragedy, hopefully we build something a little brighter, and maybe Big E can, when he comes back, it's going to be like when Triple H came back at that SummerSlam in like 2002, 2003. The hype, if Big E is able to come back and perform, and I hope he is, it's going to be a big deal. It should be a SummerSlam. It should be a WrestleMania moment. It should be treated as a big deal that this
or
guy,
a surprise Rumble appearance, or
right, like Cena did in 2006.
I mean, listen, if anybody can get through this injury and make a comeback, you got to believe it's Big E.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy's a workhorse,
Right. And mentioning Cena, one of the guys that always worked out with Cena was Big E. Cena has this private gym that he would invite the wrestlers to, and they'd put all their like personal bests, or if they broke a record for that gym or the biggest lift, and you'd see guys' names up there, like friggin' Claudio's name is up there, Cesaro, and Atari Ewan is up there on the big board for setting records at this gym, and then that's Big E's government name, and to know that John Cena had a neck issue and rehabbed it and did all this stuff and came back out 6 months later, 8 months later at that Royal Rumble and got that big reaction. If in a year from now or whenever it is, we hear the Big E, theme music at a Royal Rumble, holy shit. I'll be very, very happy to see it. And I would prefer it to be a surprise. Like you said, Steve.
It's hard to have any surprises anymore, unfortunately, but
there's one.
That's the truth.
I was gonna make a sound like an old timey radio breaking news sound, but I didn't have the time. But we're still in the middle of Cody watch.
it's not going to happen now until Mania. You're not going to see him until Mania.
Like, here's the deal. I was at an open mic on Monday, working out some new jokes and stuff. But I was following along online. I knew some people specifically were like, I'm watching Raw tonight for the first time in 3 years to see if Cody comes out. And then 3 hours later, they're like, why did I watch 3 hours of a show when Cody didn't come out?
That's how they get you.
Yo, seriously. Like, so here's the thing. And Brian Alvarez, and I'll get real brief on this. Brian Alvarez was complaining earlier today on Wrestling Observer Live that people were mad that Cody didn't come out tonight. Because people had kind of set the expectation in their own head that he was coming out, and now they're kind of done with the whole thing. I was done with this code. I was done with the thing weeks ago when he didn't show up on Raw immediately, and when he didn't go on MSG immediately. And AEW put out all those, nice things about, thank you, Cody. We're not mad at you. Have fun. Like, basically saying we're okay with you going to back to the WWE. Some of the bloom was off the rose. There's a little bit of shine off this. And honest to God, I know some people might start watching Raw again. There is no, short of like Jesus Christ coming out at the Royal Rumble, will I, that might be a way for me to tune back into 3 hours of Raw. Cody is not going to move the Cody. People will watch because of Cody, but Cody's not going to move the dial to get them like an extra 500,000 people watching the show. Like, I just don't see. The whole thing blows my mind. I don't understand what Cody's place is going to be. He's going to feud with Seth, and then what? Is he really a world title contender in the WWE at this point? Is he just going to go back and like redesign the Intercontinental Championship again and go back doing what he was doing? Is he going to be starred? Like, there's all this. It just doesn't seem like WWE would be a good fit for the guy, especially after shit talking him for 4 years. For 4 years, you talk about Triple H and golden shovels and breaking thrones and all. Like, come on, bro. You're just gonna go back? Nah.
Well, yeah. I think so.
That's the thing. He's just gonna go back. He's like, but that's it. It's just like, okay, if he just came out and said, all right, my name is Cody Runnels Rhodes. I'm a sellout. I talked all kinds of shit, and now I'm gonna take a bunch of money from them. I don't feel bad about it. I'd almost be a little bit better. I would feel a little bit better about it. As of right now, the whole radio silence Cody thing is just making it look like he quit his job without finding a new job.
Look at this photograph.
Now he doesn't have a job. Like, you know what I mean? He's legitimately unemployed unless he signed with WWE.
He kind of screwed himself in a way.
Well,
screwed Cody.
This was supposed to be the Lex Luger appearing on Nitro. This was supposed to be Rick Rude had his beard on a taped Monday Night Raw and came out on Nitro clean shaven with the NWO. This was supposed to be, Bret Hart doing WCW in the air and moving networks or whatever. Or Chris.
But again, it's Cody Rhodes. Who cares?
And I love Cody. Listen, I love Cody. I think Cody's done a lot of great work. And Steve thought we were shitting on him too much a couple weeks ago. It's just so weird to think that we're talking like WrestleMania main eventer Cody Rhodes just doesn't even now sounds weird.
It sounds weird, exactly. And I have nothing against Cody. I really
we all
don't.
love Cody.
It's just
that
it doesn't work.
I don't believe I ever said I believe he's main event WrestleMania material. Let me just get that out there.
Let's review the tape.
Yeah. But it's just, I'm like, I don't know, dude. I feel like and I'll end on this. This Jacksonville was probably the week to debut Cody. I understand if they didn't want to do it because of the Scott Hall news and all that. Next Monday is Chicago, which is another AEW stronghold, so he could debut there. But, and I guess it doesn't matter because WWE will continue to make billions of dollars from their TV deals and everything. But in my mind, like the old school wrestling mind would be, you need to get this guy on TV to promote the match, to sell tickets, and to sell
I think at this point, Rollins goes in not knowing what he's going to do at Mania, and he comes out to cut a promo or some shit, and out comes Cody. I don't think at this point we see him now until Mania. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I think, honestly, yesterday I think was our best bet for seeing him before WrestleMania.
I don't see why. I don't see what Scott Hall's passing why they should have 86'd it though. Roman Reigns comes out with leukemia and they let the Shield break up that night. Come on.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know, and that's what people were saying online. I don't think it was true. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know.
If anyone would have gone with the show must go on thing, it would have been Scott Hall.
Yeah, but I think honestly, he might not be signed yet because there's just no motion. Like I feel like
it kind of stalled. Yeah.
I don't want to say I know Cody. I've worked with Cody for enough to get a sense of the guy. And also the Young Bucks book had this thing about even right up to the deadline of forming AEW, Cody was like, oh, we should go back to WWE. Now, he kept flip-flop. Like 1 week he was feeling one way, 1 week he was feeling another way. And he could just have been doing that for the last 6 weeks. He's like, nah, I'm going back to WWE. And then like a week later, he's like, you know what? I miss AEW. I'm going to go back. And I don't know if he's made his decision. And
so he was the John Kerry of wrestling.
Oh,
he's a flip-flopper. Yes. Okay. That's an old joke.
Yeah, that
is a classic. But Steve, what do you, I'll open the floor up because I rambled about Cody enough for everybody. But like, what do you think here? Like, do you think Cody is going to have that needle moving impact or the impact of like, oh my God, we got one of AEW's guys to come? Like, what do you think, Steve?
It's a loaded question. I mean, it's, I feel like if history repeats itself like usual, it's going to be groundbreaking. When it happens, it's going to be an oh shit moment. I think the crowd's going to go fucking crazy at whenever point it happens. I think there's going to be a lot of buzz behind it. I think we're going to have a month or two where Cody is a big deal. And then I think he's going to show up on NXT. I mean, that's just the reality. I don't think we're getting a Stardust. Fucking, I hope not. I hope we're getting Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, whatever the fuck you want to call him. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope Cody, is a main event guy. I just don't see him being a WrestleMania main event type of guy. I feel like it still blows my mind that he would go back right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Cody, I'm gonna run ROH and invade AEW and be the leader or something, crazy. Now that everyone is convinced 100% that he's WWE bound, what if he's not and he fucking signed again with Tony Khan? I feel like it's just very strange that he would even consider leaving right now when there's so much momentum behind AEW right now. But yeah, I think typical WWE, he's going to be a big deal for a little bit, and then I think they're going to shit on
him. And that's like, for example, for people who might listen to this show and go, AEW marks, you hate WWE, blah, blah, blah. I've been to more WrestleManias than you, period. So, It's just a fact.
We've probably been alive more than the WrestleMania listeners.
Combined, we've probably been to more WrestleManias than most of the people signed to WWE right now. So,
that is a very safe bet.
I said I've been to 3.
Me too.
I can't even count. It's definitely more than 3, and I've also been to SummerSlams. I've been to Survivor Series.
Yeah,
I've been.
Well, you go
a
through
bunch
that
of other
list,
events.
yeah.
I have been to King of the Ring. I've been to In Your Fucking House. The only thing I actually have never seen live is the Rumble, and I'm okay with that because I feel like live you'll just miss too much.
You might.
Yeah.
I do want to go to a Rumble live just to say I've been to a Rumble though.
I think that's the only pay-per-view I haven't been to either is a Rumble.
But here's the thing, Cody. Yeah, I understand. WWE's never going to go out of business. They make $100 billion from Saudi Arabia and NBC. They're never going to go out of business. I understand. They don't care about selling tickets. They don't really even care about ratings. They just care about the fact that the companies that are paying them to put on these shows are still paying them to put on these shows.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to take this money, and of course, because they released all these other people, they're able to use this money to sign other talent to higher money deals. They kept Sami Zayn with that way. They kept Kevin Owens that way. They kept AJ Styles that way. They kept Finn Balor that way, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, how much money did they clear by getting rid of Shane McMahon?
Right, and that's another thing, probably several $1 million as well. And the towel budget for all of his sweat. They were doing a lot of laundry. Like there was just too much laundry happening for Shane McMahon. Like he sweat too much.
Oh, Marissa Mazzolo can do it. It's okay.
And then there was rumors about, maybe Cody joins with Shane and forms their own company,
right?
Or goes to Impact and takes over that.
Raw Underground with Shane McMahon and Cody Rhodes. But no, here's the thing. I kind of feel bad
EC3
for Kevin.
and Adam Shearer's brand.
Right, he can control his narrative.
What the fuck kind of a name is that, by the way?
Control. I mean, it's not necessarily a wrestling company's name, but hey, here we are. We don't like.
It doesn't stand for any wrestling things.
No, and it's literally they abbreviate it CYN, control your narrative, and it's really about, I guess, controlling the perception. That they're making it more about controlling the perception of their gimmicks or their characters or their whatever it is. I don't know.
But
a company run by wrestlers. That's it.
Oh yeah.
To Cody's credit, though, he's the master of turning chicken shit into chicken salad. Anything
for sure
that he's been given, even Stardust to a point, he's been able to make work. He had a fucking gimmick where he just had a mustache.
Yeah, well, and that was
look, he got that over.
What was his saying? From unsomething to undeniable.
It was so good we can't remember it.
Whatever, but it was like making yourself more, going from undesirable to undeniable. So you were undesirable and you made yourself undeniable.
From undesirable to undeniable. Yeah,
that was his deal. So
and he went from dashing to undashing.
So now I think maybe that's the perception, is like, I've now made I was undesirable to the WWE, and now I've made myself undeniable to. So he was never actually talking about becoming from going undesirable to undeniable in AEW. Maybe this is all a bigger story that he was
look
telling.
What happened to Drew McIntyre.
Drew, that's the turnaround of a goddamn century right there. It also helped that he was on horse tranquilizers or whatever other fucking steroid they pumped into him. Drew McIntyre was 100 pounds when he debuted on SmackDown.
No.
The guy had to eat
he was soaking wet, probably was, yeah.
With change in his pockets. He had to eat that horse meat from China to get his muscles. But I'm just glad he did it. Listen, he turned it around. He went on the Indies. He got real jacked. He came back. I feel bad for Kevin Owens, though. I can't feel bad for a millionaire. But they go, we're going to give you all this money. We're going to sign you back. Who's your favorite wrestler of all time? And he's like, my favorite wrestler is Stone Cold. And they're like, do you want to wrestle Stone Cold, buddy? Yeah, I want to wrestle Stone Cold. Why don't you sign this contract? All right, I'm going to sign this. I'm going to wrestle Stone Cold. That's awesome. And they're like, I thought I was wrestling Stone. You're going to get a segment. You're going to like it, son.
That That was great.
Can you
If
imagine
I
he's
could,
sitting there?
moving
I
on
want
to
to hear an
the
interview with
absurd,
Owens.
the latest Hall of Fame induction.
Oh, that's
all right.
not a Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, I know. It's a
I
Hall of
hope
Shame,
the fucking
really.
boogeyman gives it to her with a bowl of worms, okay?
Okay, we should really back the bus up and let people know. The website or whatever Complex app Complex. I've heard of them before. I just don't know exactly what they do. They released a tweet or a statement to inform everyone that the newest inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame for 2022 is Queen Sharmell. Queen, yes, that silence is exactly what you should be doing right now. Listen, no disrespect to Sharmell. She started off as a Nitro girl. She was Paisley to Kwee-Wee in the dying days of WCW. She was very, very good as Queen Sharmell in both WWE and in TNA. But she also had that match against Jenna Maraska, which is legitimately the worst wrestling match of all time. I cannot, in good conscience, believe that Sharmell is by definition of any other Hall of Fame a Hall of Famer. By WWE standards, I mean she's an easy in because you've got Drew Carey, who made one appearance on a Royal Rumble and then one appearance at the Hall of Fame, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and those are his only 2 appearances ever.
But that's celebrity wing. That's different.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be mocking and stupid. I mean, come on,
But,
like Donald Trump, Kid Rock, anybody
right,
that's
right.
making a celebrity wing, it's supposed to be a
Tori
joke.
Wilson look good.
But
by
I
comparison.
was just gonna go. Tori Wilson is another questionable choice, but I mean this is. We talked about this last week. When you're inducting 5 or 6 people every year or whatever it is, it dilutes the people that you could like. If this year was just The Undertaker, Sid, and Vader, fine. It doesn't need to be 10 people every year.
No, but still, if you wanted to induct, they want to make it fair and induct a female every year in tag teams. Which, by the way, if it is the Steiners, I'm all for the Steiner brothers going in 100%. You mean to tell me in the history of females that have contributed to professional wrestling, even if you want to put a valet in there, I understand even how people like are opposed to Chris Benoit. I get it. That's fine. Fucking put Nancy in there.
Yeah.
She's done more.
Like Miss Elizabeth was a good choice. You know,
Elizabeth's never going to go in unless her family okays it.
Right.
That's why she hasn't ever been put in. Her mother wants nothing to do with it.
But Miss Elizabeth should be the standard at which you should be
judged
as a valet or a manager.
Absolutely.
I mean,
so
put
for
in
valets,
like Missy Hyatt.
Right. Oh, Missy would be a great choice.
Hell, so would Beulah McGillicuddy.
Beulah. I know Beulah only really worked in ECW.
But so what?
Yeah, I know. At this point, it doesn't matter.
Francine, even at this point, or whatever.
Queen of Mean, Miss Francine. Yeah.
There are so many women that actually A, know how to take bumps, B, know how to work on the microphone, and C, actually contributed something. I'm sorry. Sharmell didn't do shit.
Like fucking Jazz.
Yeah, but it's Jazz is an easy choice for me. Ring work and everything. She should be in the Hall of Fame. But I guess it's Texas, so Booker and Sharmell are from Texas. I guess that matters. I don't know.
Booker.
I still don't think JBL should be in the Hall of Fame.
Ass for this one.
What about Vince McMahon?
Booker put his nose way up Vince's ass for this one.
Yeah.
Have you heard any of the interviews that Booker does now? They
Booker's
are all
such a WWE shill. It's amazing.
Oh my god.
I'm surprised he doesn't sound congested when he's talking
and
because
look,
his nose
Booker,
is so far
I love
up
you,
there.
But come on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I really like Booker. Booker was always a top tier talent, whether it was tag team, singles, WCW, WWE, TNA, wherever. And now it's just like, yeah, all this stuff you can just tell. It's like they tell him very specifically what to say in these interviews. Although he fucked up a couple weeks ago, Eric, and announced that Roxy had signed to WWE, and then had to be like, no, she didn't actually sign. And now WWE came out recently to say
yesterday.
that Roxy.
I was curious about that because, like, she was wasn't she NWA Women's Champion or Ring of Honor?
She was Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Yeah.
and I wondered why she had dropped the title so quickly. And then I'm like, okay, she must be in signings with somebody big.
Right. It ended up being WWE, so they had to she dropped the title to Deanna, which I think is a smart move. Now,
You know what?
I just
I'm sorry.
What?
I just thought of something because I've been thinking about the whole women thing and pioneering and things like, I
Yeah.
said Miss Elizabeth is like the standards for profession, like for ballet and everything. Eric, I know you'll agree with me on this one. Fucking put in the jumping bomb angels.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't really have. I don't know. The Jumping Bomb Angels only worked there for a little while, but they really don't have. WWE doesn't have the respect for the Japanese style that they really should. Yeah, the Jumping Bomb Angels were fantastic. I mean, hey, you know what? Put in Judy Martin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Or Leilani Kai.
Yeah!
Exactly.
Wait, did Leilani Kai go in? She didn't go in. I feel like she went in years ago. If she didn't, she should have.
I don't think she did.
Bertha Faye, Bull Nakano.
Yo, yeah.
There's so many from that time area that, like, I know women's wrestling wasn't the big deal like it is right now, but this is when people actually wrestled and contributed. Not this all hail King Booker shit.
They should have, what they should have done was back when Netflix still had Glow running new episodes. They even had that episode where the Glow girls were on Raw promoting a new season of Glow. That would have been the time to induct like Fiji or any of those girls from Glow into the WWE, or just take Glow and say Glow, the organization, is part of the WWE Hall. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would have been fun.
Hell, you know what? Fuck it. They take people from different industries and everything of wrestling and everything. Freaking put in Awesome Kong.
Awesome Kong absolutely deserves it.
I don't care how long Karma was there and all that and everything. Put her entire career on paper, and she fucking deserves it more than half the people that are like Tori Wilsons and Queen Charmels that are in there right now.
Yeah, right. And that's why it's a WWE Hall of Fame, not a
here's
wrestling.
Another no-brainer that's not going to happen. Gail Kim.
Yeah.
Well, Gail won't. They don't have the greatest relationship.
I'm scared of her husband too. Not gonna lie, for a chef, that dude scares the piss out of me.
Do you know how surprised I am that he never wrestled a match?
Right?
Robert Irvine and Gail Kim tag teaming together against somebody would have been hilarious.
I would have loved
I actually thought it would happen in TNA.
Oh yeah, well TNA would have been easy. That would. Oh yeah. Put him against.
I love that it was a WWE cooking event on the Food Network.
I remember going to a TNA Impact show, and it was a house show, not an Impact. And Gail Kim wrestled a match, and Robert Irvine came out and sat ringside and watched the match.
Oh, that's cool. Do you guys remember that episode of, what was it, Kitchen Impossible with the WWE's? And was it the Miz? They said,
it was great.
They said crack the eggs, and the Miz started like elbow dropping this crate of eggs. And it wasn't like a dozen eggs. It was like a gross. It was like 144 eggs. And he just started elbow dropping them. They're like, we're trying to make omelets, you asshole. Like,
it was so
I know
funny.
nothing about wrestling, but I need to know about her. It's exactly what he said about Gail Kim.
Yeah. Hey, good for him. Oh, you know what would have been great? Robert Irvine and Gordon Ramsay as a tag team.
Oh God, that would be great.
Oh,
we get Van, and we could get Van to referee it, and then we could get Van Herd to referee it.
Yes, the Hell's Kitchen tag team, the Hell's Kitchen Hell in a Cell.
Oh man,
Hell's
is it a war of words or is it actually wrestling?
You know what? I think
I'd pay for a war of words to watch those.
Gordon Ramsay was a boxer back in the day, and Robert Irvine doesn't look like no slouch. I think those two guys could put on a hell of a fight.
And their manager would be John Taffer.
Yeah. Shut it down. That's what he would say. He would walk up to Paul Heyman and be like, "Shut it down."
See, we just booked a better
segment. Look at Taffer. He looks like a mob boss.
He's a bad dude. Yeah, you can tell by looking at him.
and Irvine is he's jacked. The dude is jacked.
These
They're
guys
making a new show together, actually, Robert Irvine and John Taffer.
Oh my God.
They're
Right.
combining
Yeah,
their
yeah.
talents. I cannot wait.
Is it just going to be we scream at people for an hour? Because that's basically what the show should be. Just them screaming at
And
people.
guess what? I don't care what channel it's on. I will pay for it to watch it. It's better than 3 hours of Raw some nights, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
Calling somebody an idiot sandwich or whatever it is. Well, shit. We went so off the rails.
Okay, but we haven't spoken since last week. We did not talk about the major AEW return last week. Someone dancing into the ring when their brother's getting their ass kicked.
Oh my God, Jeff Hardy. That's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. And then they showed there was on Being the Elite on the youth. He's back there standing against the wall as this whole segment's going on. They're like, cue Jeff Hardy's music. And like Jeff's getting ready. They're like, go, Jeff Hardy. And he was like, and he runs out and they start dancing. It's like your brother's getting his ass whooped. But yeah, so Jeff Hardy turns out, we'll cover this real briefly. We got 3 minutes left. Jeff Hardy absolutely 100% put one over on the WWE by walking off in that match and making them think that he was back on the sauce or whatever it was. And he wanted out, obviously. He got out, and immediately once he could sign with AEW.
I need to say that if you go back to the first podcast when this should happen, I called that shit.
Oh yeah,
I called it.
Well, you should. For those of you on our YouTube channel or our Twitch stream, or whatever, go back and find it. I'm sure Eddie's gonna, you can pull that up and see
He's
how
gonna
right
take his
Eddie
bragging
was.
rights.
Oh, absolutely. Take them when you get the prediction right. What I thought was cool was they were able to. The Hardy Boys theme wasn't written by Jim Johnston. The Hardy Boys theme is a part of a collection of production music that you can purchase for a small royalty fee. You actually hear that song a lot on old reality shows from the mid 2000s. You hear it on ESPN sometimes or other places where they have like background music while a reporter's talking. So there we go. Put that up on the screen. Autumn says that Eddie is always right. There it is. It's official. Acknowledge Eddie. But yeah, so they were able to get the rights
And now
to this
she's
music.
jumping up and down in her room because you acknowledged it. I can hear the floor.
Nice. So yeah, they were able to license the music from this production company that made the music, that made the Hardy, what's known now as the Hardy Boys music. And holy shit, what a moment that is to hear that music in a different company, and it's still Jeff Hart. And at the end of it, you've got Matt and Jeff standing tall next to Sting and Darby Allin. Darby looks like he's seen a fucking ghost. And then you get the speculation on BTE that the Hardys want to face the Young Bucks. The Hardys are going to face Sting and Darby. The Hardys are going to go against FTR. Hardys against the Jurassic Express. Holy shit, guys. We're in for some tag team matches coming up. I'm looking for
I have a problem with what you just said because there's a tag team that I haven't heard yet, and I'm getting very anxious.
LAX, Proud and Powerful.
No, he's talking about them boys.
I want them boys, them fucking Briscoes,
See?
and now I heard there's another barrier because apparently there was some
old
verbiage.
tweets. Yeah, old tweets from Jay Briscoe, I think it was. I remember these when they happened. Like literally, they happened in like 2012. So you'd think you'd be able to say, "Hey, that was a decade ago. I've grown, I've matured. Give me a chance to prove myself." But no, like that's 2022. You just, you can't. You're no longer allowed to have a job or a living. That's just the way.
Or an
the way
opinion.
Right. Yeah. So, but it would. The whole thing about Ring of Honor is weird now because they announced that show, Supercard of Honor, for WrestleMania weekend before the buyout, and now Tony Khan has bought him out, and he's running that show. Literally nobody. There are no contracts for this company.
It's insane.
Sinclair Media's employees who worked for Ring of Honor, their contracts, as far as we know, are not being picked up. Tony Khan has to hire a whole new production crew. Maybe we use some of the same people, but a whole new crew, sign all new contracts, and put on a show on WrestleMania weekend, which is in 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Craziness. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of question marks, I should say, about the Ring of Honor future and the Ring of Honor Supercard that's coming up
Now he really
WrestleMania
does
weekend.
need Cody.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, shit. You know, if you're Cody, I don't know, dude. Like, I'm just picturing Cody like the third or fourth week in a row he's putting on the Stardust makeup, and he's like, "What did I get myself into?"
But we do have potentially something to look forward to tomorrow night on Dynamite. The hometown kid, Thunder Rosa, possibly winning the women's title. Very
I
deserving
certainly hope
if
so.
it happens.
All signs point to Rosa winning. So, yes, good luck to Thunder Rosa. Hopefully, I mean, we have a new women's title, which looks awesome. AEW's again redesigned the women's title. Looks very good. I hope Rosa wins it in a big moment in her hometown. And I think we got to finish up, right, Steve?
It's the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Don't you
In order
dare
to
be sad.
yeah.
Time flies when we have fun.
Again, well wishes to Big E on his recovery here. Of course, rest in peace to Scott Hall, and our best wishes go out to his family and his friends, especially Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman, who had a very close relationship to Scott Hall. And I guess the point of it is, everybody, life's too short, and you really don't know what's going to happen. So do the best you can and love everybody, and try and make your mark out there like Scott Hall did, and despite the ups and downs, he left his mark on a lot of people in a big way. So life's precious, life is short, man. You never know what's going to happen. And with all that stuff out of the way, thank you for tuning in again to the War Report, brought to you by Tag Me a Date. Be sure to follow us on social media everywhere at Tag Me a Date. That's Tag Me a Date, no spaces. It's all one word. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you can find somebody with a social media handle. Just look for at Tag Me a Date. We'll be on there. Give us a follow. Twitch.tv/War Report for our Twitch channel. YouTube, you just type in Tag Me a Date. You can find the channel. We stream live on Facebook, Periscope, and Twitter, Twitch, and or whatever, everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope. I think those are all the ones Yes, those are all the ones. They're at the top of your screen, Vince. You can just see the icons. All right, so that's it. You should follow us on all those platforms. Check out our YouTube page for the prior videos. Or if you would prefer to listen to an audio version of the podcast, it goes up within the hour of us going off the air here. It gets uploaded to podcast app of your choice: Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts. All you have to look for is Tag Me a Date, or look for the War Report. If you look for the War Report, please make sure that the icon or the description does mention Tag Me a Date, or mentions the name of Steve or Vince or Eric or Kat or Amanda or Eric or anybody, or Eddie or Ryan, any of the names that you know from the show, because there's another Wrestling War Report that we haven't dealt with yet. But there's just two now within the last year or so. So just make sure that the icon you click on says Tag Me a Date, and we'll be straight. Just tell your friends, let them know the show's on. Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. on Eastern time. We did just hit daylight savings, so adjust your clocks as necessary. Best way to know is to hit the subscription bell and button on YouTube, or to follow us on one of our social media platforms to know when we go live. Other than that, that's it. We'll see you next week for another edition of the War Report. Thank you guys for tuning in.